Hello there, Great 108s. How are you? I have been having quite the summer experience, and I wondered how things were going for you guys as well. You know that the World Summit is ramping up, right? Dean's been talking about it nonstop, and in August we will be um, attending year two of the World Summit, which is where we met, right? So it's special for us. It'll be our 1 year anniversary. Um, a lot of growth has happened for me in that 1 year. I don't know about you guys. Maybe you'll share a little bit in the comments about what's going on in your life. But one of the questions I asked is, what about summer? I mean, we just had the summer solstice last week. So for me, that kind of kicks off the summer. I know in Oklahoma, the nightly walks, the fireflies have been rampant, and it's so much fun. It's later this year than normal. You know, everybody's weather is a little bit off, right? But for us, it's normally Mother's Day. Mother's Day is usually when I see my first firefly, and that to me is summer. Well, we had weird weather, colder weather. We did see a firefly in May-ish, but it wasn't. It was later, I think. And then we had another cold snap, and they all kind of went away. But saw them again, so that was fun to see. And in California, we don't have them, so they were very special to me. Um, and speaking of California, I just went home, got to see both my dad and my stepmom in they're now up in Washington State. So I went to Spokane, which is a lovely, lovely community. And then I took a plane to LA and visited my mom and got to the beach. If anybody wonders, Laguna Beach is my beach. And so made sure we made it down there and had a great day on the beach. I wish it would have been more, but I did a pretty quick trip. And I celebrated my birthday with my family, came home and celebrated with my family here in Oklahoma. And obviously the whole world's opening up, right? You can feel it. You see people were not wearing masks, so that's a little bit strange. But it's all this regrowth, is what it feels like. And it's interesting. Right outside my window, we have a crepe myrtle, and we had that really harsh winter, and we've have crepe myrtles on properties that are big and tall, like I don't know, 10, 12 feet tall. Beautiful blooms in the summer when it gets really, really hot. Now, we haven't had the huge hot weather, but we had some gardener people tell us that probably our azaleas, I mean, crepe myrtles, were not going to make it. That when it gets really cold, like it did for us, the 10 days, that we weren't going to get they're not going to be the same. And so what's happened is they have these beautiful branches that still haven't leafed out, and yet around the base the new sprouts have come up, so it's still the same bush, but it's going to be totally different. Like, my husband wants to cut it all down and let that new growth come up, and it's so hard for me to see those beautiful well-formed branches that are just going to be lost. So it's different. It's a different time, different things are happening, and we just have to adapt and have that new growth in a different way. We're still the same plant, just not the way that we were before. And so that's kind of how I feel. We're coming out of COVID and everybody's doing their thing, but we have a different basis point. Like, life in COVID and in quarantine was different, and it slowed us down and it let us reprioritize and really think about things. And now when we're going back into full mode, it feels foreign. Like, I know I've been reading a lot of articles and stuff about people that aren't happy with their jobs and they're quitting, and yeah, that all makes sense because now there's an unrest in us. We have a different perspective, a different viewpoint. So that's been kind of interesting to process on my own. And that's why I put in the comments about living differently. And it's kind of fun. That's one of the taglines for my new ULA life coaching. You guys know I'm certified in that. And the new tagline is live differently. We have a huge product that's launching starting the 7th of July. We've had probably the last 3 weeks, we've been beta testing the product. It's an app on our phone and in the computer that allows us to track and be accountable to our dreams. It's a really cool process. Anybody wants any information, just hit me up on that. But I love that concept of living differently, because that's kind of what's going to happen with my tree, right? Shoot, with the fireflies, everything is just kind of living differently. And we have to adjust and change. And so change doesn't, sure, it happens, but we need to take steps within that to make it manageable for us, right? We're, as humans, we like to control things. So when we have a plan, when we know what steps we're going to take, that opens us up to not being afraid and taking that fear and running the other direction, or imploding, like going inside ourselves and only taking that route. So it's a different time, definitely. And like I put also in the comments, it was my birthday, so I turned 55, and I love that number, 55. I can do it in my hands, but I like numbers, being a former math teacher, but also I love numerology. And 5 is a wild number. 5 is a freedom number. 5 is change. And so to have double fives, that's like extra emphasis and oomph on the fives. That's pretty exciting. And it feels like a new number, like 50. Everybody wants to put a lot of emphasis on 50. And it was easy to say, hey, that's half my life, right? I'm going to live to be 100 and more. Well, now when you say 55, I'm feeling the top of the hill cresting over. The rest is downhill. And that's the easier side, right? Sometimes it's hard. You got to navigate and slip a little bit and so on. But it's not going to be the treacherous uphill battle that it's been all my life. And I'm going to stick to that. I want to live differently, and I want it to be one step at a time in the direction that I want to go in. And so one of my thoughts today is, what's working for you in change? Like, in the midst of all of this newness in our new life, how are you living differently? And for me, it's about looking at what's already been working for me. So one of those things is Tony Robbins, right? Like, having found him last year and his influence and the things that I know work, I'm trying to bring those into my life. And so whether that's listening to Tony's tapes or YouTubes or whatever it is I can get my hands on of his content, that really centers and grounds me a lot. Of course, applying my own life coaching principles. When things start over and you're in that place where you're like, okay, what am I going to do next? I have to really start going, okay, what works in my life coaching world? Having gratitude, being grateful for everything that I already have, having an attitude of gratitude, right? I have a daily practice I do called an abundance celebration, and that really, it raises my frequency. It makes me believe that I'm going to get those things like Bob Proctor talks about. And I'm doing lots of reading. I've really been deep into some Napoleon Hill stuff. I think her name is Sharon Lechter, the editor of the newest Napoleon Hill book. If you haven't heard it yet, I recommend reading it. It's called Outwitting the Devil. It was published in January of 2021. It was written in 1938, the year after he wrote Think and Grow Rich. And he had these great insights with what he called an interview with the devil. And a lot of them are put, they're not like hidden concepts, because he talked about them in his other books, but he didn't publish this one because his wife was worried about describing the devil, in putting the devil into a highlighted stance, basically. So she wouldn't let the book be published. So it's new material. Some stuff I haven't heard before, some stuff I have. And so I love the test of time, right? But reading, embroiling myself in those concepts of thinking is so important. And in fact, I got to see Think and Grow Rich, the movie, the other day. It was actually a live stream on my birthday from one of the executive producers. So that was really fun. And I'm working on my I am statements, like really grounding on who I am and what I want in my life, what is important to me. And I have my board, if you can see behind me. One of the things that I did with my Tony Robbins life coach when I had her was we worked on the concept of me being all jacked. And, that was my little saying going through my head, is that I am all jacked. Now, what is jacked, right? Well, in Tony Robbins, when you do Date with Destiny, you work on the values that you go towards. So my first value is going towards joy, because joy is so important, right? For me, I positivity has always been my thing, but the influence of the negative really brings me down. And so that focus on it's within me, and it doesn't matter what's happening in the outside world, I want to be like a brook where joy bubbles up through me. To me, that is the optimal state to be in, where I don't need anything else other than to have that spirit within me that raises my frequency and those of the people around me. And the magic happens when you're in that place. And that's how I feel. So joy, the A is, and I'm sure you're going to get this one, but there's a lot of letters. So I'll start going. It's not Australian. It's, I'm sure you're going to catch it. It's not being an authority, but it's a version of that. Yep, I know you're on to me. Often, I'm hoping I'm spelling it right. Often, I think that is an I. Authentic. This is my new letter board, you guys. I'm not giving myself enough space. Authenticity. So, it's really important to me to be authentically me. And it's funny because for years I have heard people talking about being authentic and being you and you be you, which is one of our coaching things and so on. And it's always struck a chord with me, but I didn't know how to sing that note, if you will. And this group, my life in general, everything that's changing this year, to me that feels very authentic. I'm being much more me. And I know that's who I'm meant to be, right? We're all like the snowflakes in the world. All of us unique. All of us genuinely different. And that's for a reason. So authenticity, I want to work on being me and just me and doing things for me, and knowing that as I do that, other things will happen for other people. So that one's good. And then that adds the T. So this one is trust. So in the Tony Robbins world, you say, I am joy, I am authenticity, and I am trust. Well, it's hard to say I am trust, but what it is I am trusting the process. I trust myself. I trust the people I've surrounded myself with. I trust that what I'm doing in this moment is key and important and helping, serving others. So I am all Jack. And, I'm not going to get to any of that if I don't have good daily habits that help me to do the next right thing. That's all you have to do, one step at a time, doing the next right thing until, in the end, you are on that path that you want to be on and living your personal best in the best life that you have available to you in this moment, in this time. One step at a time, right thing, personal best. So that's what I'm working on. That's what is going on in my world. Share about what's going on in yours, what you're changing, how you're doing it, what steps you're planning to take. I'd love to talk to you guys individually. Let's get together sometime, okay? strategize. That's one of the key things I'm hearing from Napoleon Hill that I absolutely adore is we need to mastermind together. No doubt about it. All right, you guys, take care.